So once again, this is I gave it at Calderville and Tilden this morning. You have the report there, and I'll say it once again and to the congregation. Thank you to Pastor Cody for inviting me, asking me to go, for the opportunity, and I thank the congregation for allowing me to represent you and sharing in my expenses. So thank you. So I'm going to give the report because I'm supposed to, and you need something for your money. So there you go. The session opened. It opened with it was a beautiful time of praise and worship. The praise band, and they had a la carte music. They had praise and worship, gospel, old time and hymns. So it was beautiful. The Illinois Great Rivers Annual Conference gathered June 8th through 10th for its first in-person conference since 2019. The theme of the annual conference was a time to plant, a time to build. It was the third or fourth themes, so quadrennial themes from Ecclesiastes 3, where God made everything. And personally, I was there in 2019 as well with Pastor Dave, and it was a beautiful time to see some old friends, some faces I'd met before, and a great time. The conference provided opportunity for a celebration on a number of fronts. It was recognized, the conference was again recognized for more than $6 million in giving to missions. That's beyond the apportionments in 2022, including $1.3 million given to 18 missionaries overseas through the General Board of Global Ministries, GBOM. And I tell people, that's why I like being United Methodist. So we have our problems, and every church does, and every person does, but we are connected to everybody. We're connected across the world through missions, and that's a beautiful thing. So, and we're going to receive a reward for that as well. There were several special offerings during the conference. Each one they were about $7,000 each one. One was the John Kofi Asthma School in Liberia, and the other was Tom Brown Scholarship at Wiley College, Joyce Helm Francis Endowed Scholarship for Africa University, and then the ordinance trip to the Holy Land. There were 4 offerings. Frank Beard invited churches to submit ideas. So there was videos we saw. They were called Tag and Brag and Tag Tour. So, like in between fill-in spots, they showed videos of different churches. There were like 8 of them. Churches in the conference that had community projects and things that they were doing. And the theme was, we have spirit. Yes, we do. We have spirit. How about you? And it was a challenge to all of us. They were really kind of fun things to watch in between. They were great. Retired Bishop James Swanson preached at the opening worship service that opening day, and his theme was, it was on a time and a season for everything. And then he, being a product of the 70s as he was, and a product of Vietnam, he also talked about Marvin Gaye's theme, What's Going On, the song that was big back then. And he tied that in with the fact that the seasons are going on, and we have little control over the seasons, but we are still called to be faithful in whatever season we are. So that was a beautiful, a really beautiful message he had. There was a memorial service, or a retirement service, let me start there, for 29 retirees with over 830 years of service that were recognized, including our pastor, our superintendent, Alan Walker. She was recognized. There was a memorial service remembering clergy and their spouses and lay delegates, past lay delegates of record who passed away, went to be with the Lord this past year. And then there was a celebration of the churches that completed their mission. And there were 8 congregations there, and I'll name those: Blue Ridge, Eddyville, Cairo Tigert Memorial, Mounds, Bloomington Park, Chestnut, Lerna, and Mason. 8 churches that completed their mission of service. It's worth mentioning that there was not a lot of talk about the disaffiliation, and that really wasn't, that was discussed a bit, but it wasn't an item on the agenda per se, because the conference was a time of celebration and also a time of business at hand. So rather than encumber that, there had been a special session for disaffiliation where 28 churches in the conference were recognized that felt that it was God's will that they part ways. So that's a total of 31 in the conference. So the bishop was very gracious in offering prayer for blessing for them as they parted, that God's hand would be on them in their mission and calling as they separated from the church, and offered the blessing there. But when you put that in perspective, there are 31 churches, and there are over 700 in the conference. So while it is news, it is not life-threatening, thunderous news, although some would make it that way. So there's still over 700 churches in the conference, and I'm thankful for that. So if you'll remember, Paul Black, maybe those of you who went to Coulterville that Saturday, that paragraph 2553, which is a disaffiliation document, that sunsets December 31st, but there was a business at hand to recommend passage of a revised version for 18 months for churches that want to disaffiliate, and that would take us past the general conference, so churches can see how things are going to go there, and then make a fully informed decision. If you'll remember, one of the items of concern that day was, are we really making a fully informed decision on that? And churches have to decide that on their own. But the 2553 for one of a simpler explanation is it's a structured way to part from the Methodist Church, if that's your choice. The annual conference approved a 2024 budget of $8.7 million, and that's been a reduction in 28% over the last 4 years. And while disaffiliation might have something to do with that, I think most of that was due to COVID, and apportionments have been flat for the last 10 years, according to the report. But the good news is they did not have to furlough any of their staff, even with the decreased budget, so we're thankful for that. So the 2024 budget, the cost reduction was due to the fact that the number of conferences, or districts, is cut in half now. There were 10 districts, and now there's 5. And so we are we were the Mississippi River District, and we are combined with the Sangamon River District. It's kind of an hourglass-shaped district. We're down here where we were, and Sangamon is, of course, Sangamon County, that area. Kind of runs up 55 there to connect us. So we are a combined district, and we have a new district superintendent, Brad Watkins, and we certainly hope to meet him this year. So there was a cabinet address. Angie Lee, one of the district superintendents, part of the bishop's cabinet, which is made up of DSs, talked about the challenge of trying to supervise anywhere from 127 to 164 churches in a district. And of course, the strategy includes implementing technology to simplify paperwork, accessibility, hiring faithful associate DSs, so they'll have an assistant, and then recruiting and equip lay and clergy in the local churches to coordinate district ministries. So yeah, and she had a good object lesson. She had these inflatable balls. They're kind of like heavy balloons, you know, the kind in the bin at the dollar store, right? So she had two of those. One was inflated, one was deflated. So she dropped the deflated one, plop, didn't bounce. She dropped the inflated one, it bounced back. So what's the lesson there? She said the object lesson there is that balloon had hope. And so as a church, we have hope, and we can bounce back from adversity. And I gave that sermon some months back, a year or so, about Nehemiah, and what he brought to the people was hope. That's how they built that wall. They built it with material, but they built it with hope. The conference also approved 204 petitions that had previously been approved in a November 2022 jurisdictional conference, and that was a rather close vote, and it was affirming the resolution, and it was written by, they named themselves this, written by the queer delegates concerning a call to center justice and empowerment for LGBTQIA plus people in the United Methodist Church. This aspirational document, which has no force of changing the current Book of Discipline, passed on a very, like I said, a rather close vote. It was a call and a request to affirm and acknowledge that those delegates were going to the jurisdictional conference, and they are. And whether or not we voted, they were going. So it was also a call. Matters like that can't simply be settled by a yes and no vote, right? So that's all we had. That was the only context we had, was a yes and no vote. Those matters require a deep discussion and encounters with people. And it was a call to, at the next annual conference, to have a deeper, more meaningful discussion on that matter. The conference also passed another jurisdictional resolution which called on persons who are leaving and intend to leave to step down from potential conflicts of interest within the United Methodist Church if they intend to leave the church. So that resolution passed as well. The conference announced the health insurance allowance paid to full-time pastors would remain at $17,500, and the conference also approved a 3% raise for pastors, associate pastors, and the like for 2024. Retirees under the 1982 pension plan receive a 2% increase. That's a different pension framework in their health and welfare benefits, and that was funded by a gift from the Preachers Aid and Benefits Society, Benefits Fund, Preachers Aid Society and Benefits Fund. And that was, that message was given by Keith Anderson. Remember, Keith, we had breakfast. So, and we've had, in the past, we've had representatives of the Preachers Aid Society and Benefits Fund here. And I think that's a beautiful fund and that we ought to give to, and intentionally sometime during the year. It really funds retired pastors. It helps fund their medical overages, prescription overages, and the like. It's a beautiful fund, and they do that they do that regularly. Give to retirees. Let's see. The clergy session approved the election of 3 elders in full connection. They also approved the commissioning of 5 provisional elders, including our Cody Battefeld. So give Cody a hand. He was commissioned. 2 provisional deacons, the election of 1 pastor into associate membership, and the graduation of 2 local pastors from their course of study to become licensed local pastors. And other highlights, the retirement of lay servant leaders, Ava Williams and Jana Waite. I'd met Ava a few times, and of course, many of you know I was on the course for Certified Lay Speaker and am on the course for Certified Lay Minister. I've talked to Ava and met her several times over the years, and she's retiring, and we'll see about that. She says she's retiring, that she's going to be around till the end of the year, so we'll see. And of course, we know in God's kingdom, do we ever retire? No, we do we, Bill? No. Well, yeah, we. Also the naming of the new certified lay ministers, Stella, who several I know, Stella Owens, Steve Harder, I know, Crystal, I know her name, Bermel, and Jeremy Volkmer, and I know Jeremy very, very well, and I've filled in for Jeremy at his churches a few times, so they are all certified lay ministers. Question and answer session we had. How can the greater church, the overall church, help the small church survive? Help us survive. And the answer was, and I think we already knew the answer to these, was really encouraging the building of relationships, meeting your neighbors, being nice to your neighbors, and spreading the love of Jesus Christ. And then one final impression on me was the message from Chantel Corey of the Midwest Mission Distribution Center. And if you don't know, the MMDC up in Chatham, Illinois is the largest distribution center in the whole of the UMCOR worldwide network, that place up there. And of course we know UMCOR is one of the largest charities in the world. And you're all connected to that by being members of this church. That's another thing I like about being a United Methodist. They gave out over $8 million in disbursements last year to what's the word? Disaster relief, pardon me, disaster relief, over $8 million. They gave 8 shipments to Ukraine, to people in Ukraine for relief there. And she indicated to us, and we know this too, it's a great way to bring in people to help with things. We've done it in the past. We did the buckets, and we went up there once, and it's a great way to invite people to help with some of those things, and some simple things like you can volunteer there, you can volunteer here and do things, and we're going to talk about that some more, about some people that we've targeted to invite them to come help. You and I have. You know, I'll tell you who, yeah, you know. So, not you, well, you're always targeted. So, in closing, the 2024 annual conference will be held June 6th through 8th, 2024, at the Peoria Civic Center in Peoria, Illinois. And I urge you, if you get the invite, I urge you to go and serve God. It's a time of blessing. So, thank you.